Have you ever hiked up Bronte Creek from the church? It can be challenging at certain areas. You might want waders too. But if you go far enough up, there's a small cave in the creek valley. William Lyon Mackenzie King hid there after the failed rebellion of 1837. And it is now part of Canadian history. A Walton member researched his family roots. Turned out this Walton member is not only related to that rebel hiding up Bronte Creek in a cave, but this Walton member is related to Winston Churchill, the former British Prime Minister, as well as Benjamin Franklin, one of the signers of the American Declaration of Independence. Now, if that wasn't enough, the research discovered his ancestors were on the Mayflower. And they eventually became United Empire Loyalists. And to top it off, they were one of the founding families of Port Credit. Now, what a family tree! How many people can claim such ancestors? Now, even if your family tree isn't full of famous names that most people know, the good news is that we're part of a much larger, diverse family tree here at Walton. Now, many of you may have researched your roots. You've spit into that tube and done a DNA test, or maybe you've given blood. Maybe you've gone to 23andMe and researched your background. The test provides information of your roots through the centuries by DNA. It tells you where you came from, and often there's surprises that where you think you came from wasn't your family roots. Maybe you've been inspired by that PBS show, Finding Your Roots, created by Henry Louis Gates Jr. As I've watched the program, I realize how much we have in common, really. Do you know we share the same DNA? 99.9% of it's the same. It's that 0.1 that makes us unique. Here at Walton, our DNA is the faith, the values, and the sense of community we share deeply rooted in Jesus Christ. Our individual uniqueness is how we participate and contribute our time, talents, and treasure within the family of faith. It's all critically important. Susan shared a message about stewardship earlier in the service. Now, inland from Lake Huron, inland from Goderich, Ontario, there's a community called Walton. Have you ever been there? Or if you're a motorcycle fan, with all the jumping, what's that called? Motocross. It is the center of it in Ontario. Now, in the community of Walton, there's a local United Church called Blue Vale United Church. But locally, it's called Walton United Church. It's just like some people in Oakville and Burlington refer to this as Bronte United Church. Now, it was before 1912 called Bronte, but they refer to its location. Now, we once got a check in the mail from a will for $10,000 for Walton United Church. But it wasn't intended for us. No one on the council or the trustees knew who the person was. So after some research, we found out it was the Blue Vale Church who were the recipients, not us. And the estate lawyer sorted it out. Now, sadly, on April 1st, Blue Veil Church in the village of Walton closed after 167 years of worship. Church closures, the closing of churches, unfortunately, is common these days. Sped up by COVID, and it's not just United Churches. We see them all through rural Ontario, but also closures in Oakville and Burlington and around the greater Toronto-Hamilton area. Now, closures take many forms. They begin with staff being laid off, or ministers going part-time, or two congregations sharing the same minister for the first time, or selling off the property, but ultimately resulting in closing of doors. A local congregation not far from us are in the process of selling off their property, and the reason is basically they ran out of volunteers and they ran out of money. Each congregation has its own DNA. For sure, we have common worship of God, the ingredients of singing and praying and reading the Bible. But beyond that, each congregation has a distinctive DNA. They have a distinctive culture and vision and sense of being. As Paul said in that reading today, in this way we are like various parts of the human body. Each part gets its meaning from the body as a whole, not the other way around. The body we're talking about is Christ's body of the chosen people, the church. Each of us finds meaning and function as part of that body. The DNA of Walton is not like any other church's DNA. Often people move away at a distance, and we hear from them after a while to tell us they cannot find another church like Walton. Or they tell us they join another church in the local area, but they do not stick. Some, if they can, make the decision to drive back here to Bronte. Others worship with us virtually every week. Well, this uniqueness of DNA takes many forms, but most certainly it is ingrained in the volunteers and in the nature of the generosity of the congregation. Remember what that local congregation said why they're selling their property? We ran out of volunteers and we ran out of money. Today, Susan, Tricia, and myself ask you to help make sure that we have long-term, not only survival, but thriving as a congregation. That what we do individually and as a group is critical to the long-term healthy DNA of Walton. For we need both. Now, if your background is in the United Church, you're probably aware that the United Church for many, many years had a monthly publication called the United Church Observer. A few years ago, the Observer transitioned to a new format called Broadview. And like many things, it comes in paper and it comes virtually. Now, I'm sure you heard over the summer about the Canadian murder mystery novel set here in Walton. And DNA today is critical in any murder investigation. Now, this novel that some of you read, some of you bought, has brought so much attention across Canada to Walton Church. Our claim to fame is that we are site of a murder mystery. It was sort of reframed shortly after After all the publicity of that that murder mystery, Walton then had 3 of our staff featured in a photo essay in Broadview. It was quite an achievement. If you can see that, do you recognize anyone in the bell tower? You have to come up and look afterwards. What about someone in Bronte Hall? I have to take the ads out here. Someone in the choir room? Stu, you're right. And some photos of the choir room. Just to go back, that's Val beside the bell. Well, it's brought so much attention. The photo essay. These 3 employees are just a few of the many, many people who make Walton the special place it is. And I think we should be proud that the national magazine chose to focus on our congregation. Stu said, "I was watching soccer on TV one Sunday morning, and my wife came home from worshiping at Walton. She told me they needed a financial administrator for the office and a tenor for the choir. It was kind of a 2-for-1 deal. Thank you for doing that." Allison said, "I originally started working in the church in the capacity of Sunday school coordinator. At the time, I was looking for a part-time job with flexibility to work around my children's schedule. When the administration and facilities coordinator position arose, I didn't hesitate to apply. It's such a fulfilling job with the most wonderful, supportive team of co-workers you can imagine. So now I wear 2 different hats at Walton, which keeps me busy." Val said, "When we answer the phone or the door, we never know if it will be a pleasant visit or a challenging time in a person's life. You know, I can honestly say no 2 days are the same. Every day is a different experience and a different blessing. We're going through some challenging things. I'm not sure it will turn out to be a blessing, but God has a way of changing things and improving things. Aren't we so blessed?" Yes, we are blessed. We are blessed with those 3 staff members, but we are in countless ways blessed abundantly beyond that. I wish that the Broadview magazine would come back here to the church and feature some of our volunteers in a photo essay. They wouldn't have to climb the rickety stairs, 3 levels, and go through the hatches up to the bell, but they could tell the story of the DNA. I can think of 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, and it goes on, of volunteers, of people of the congregation who make us abundantly blessed. For these people, you here in this service, you downstairs, you in Bronte Hall, you watching, you are all the ingredients of Walton's DNA. And that's unique and it's special. and we are blessed. I was planning early in the year for next year, 2024, and I was putting something in March, and I thought, it's 4 years since we first closed because of the pandemic. It's a tribute to the strength of Walton's DNA that we faced not once, but twice closures, and we successfully reopened twice. Your dedication in countless ways, your dedication through gifts of volunteering and gifts of money have made a difference. Thank you. Did you hear about the person who said, I couldn't afford to go to Ancestry.com and do a DNA test? So I simply announced on social media that I'd won $1 million, the Mega Million lottery, and soon found out who my relatives are. Isn't it true? Walton has not won the lottery. It takes all of us doing what we can do day in and day out. Tricia, the chair of our Walton Stewardship Committee, wrote to the congregation this past week. We hope you received it electronically. Some of you received it in Canada Post or will. But Tricia said, so please take some time to think about how you want to support Walton. Would you like to be more involved, or you have a special talent to share? There's lots of opportunities. Contact the church office and they'll help point you in the right direction. She also wrote, are you able to increase your financial support? The general fund needs your help. Yes, there's surprises that come up that aren't in the budget. Any increase in your contributions to make all the great work we do at Walton is appreciated. We go back to Paul, and he said, there's all those parts of the body. Well, there's all those parts of the body here in a congregation, and together those parts form the DNA of the personality of this worshiping people. Thank you for your part of being Walton's DNA.